On March 17th this year, AGP Limited received a shipment of 50,000 full doses of the Russian Sputnik V vaccine from the United Arab Emirates. The Russian vaccine had been privately bought by the Pakistani pharmaceutical company from the private office of a prince of the UAE royal family, and at a rate much higher than at which the same vaccine was being sold to some other countries. The purpose was for AGP to privately vaccinate people willing and able to pay for it, while the government would use COVAX consignments and vaccines they procured themselves to inoculate the rest of the population. What followed the arrival of Sputnik V vaccines from UAE was a process nearly as chaotic and confused as the chain of events that led to AGP securing the imported vaccines. Court cases raged, AGP threatened to sell the vaccine to some other country, and the government stepped in and stopped them from administering vaccines until AGP took the government to court as well. All this while the country's urban upper middle class waited with bated breath to see if they would manage to get the vaccine. Today, after all this, Sputnik V vaccine is not available in Pakistan, either privately or through government channels, because a reasonable compromise on price has not been achieved. Despite this, the demand for private vaccination remains high in Pakistan. Ariba Shahid investigates whether private for-profit vaccination works and the excruciatingly long chain through which Pakistan was able to get their hands on Sputnik V. It is important to note that vaccine hesitancy is high in Pakistan. That means people are hesitant of getting vaccinated. However, as a result, the government was able to open up vaccinations for all age groups earlier than it had anticipated. In March, however, no one knew when vaccination would open up for younger people. For that very purpose, Sputnik V being vaccinated privately for people that were willing to pay made sense. Within hours, all the vaccine doses that AGP was able to bring into Pakistan were sold out, even at a price roughly above 12,000 rupees. On paper, it made sense for a country like Pakistan to privately vaccinate its people. The people that could afford to pay for the vaccines reduced the burden on the government. Moreover, it also let consumers choose which vaccine they wanted to get. But everyone's missing out on something really interesting. You would expect that AGP Limited would import the Russian Sputnik V vaccine from the Russians? But instead, they struck a deal with the private office of Sheikh Ahmed Dalmouk Al Maktoum. The agreement was signed on the 10th of March, and the documents obtained by Profit show that AGP was to import 1 million doses of Sputnik V at $45 per unit on cost and freight basis. The deal also stated that AGP could pay partially for 1 million vaccines and would receive their order within a specified time period. The reason AGP had to go to the Sheikh, according to them, was that the Russian developers of the vaccine had given the rights to sell and distribute Sputnik V in certain countries and territories, which included Pakistan, to the Sheikhs. Now, it is important to note that AGP here is not dealing with the UAE or Dubai government. They are being provided the vaccine by Sheikh Ahmed Dalmouk Al Maktoum, the grandson of the late Sheikh Said bin Maktoum bin Hashir Al Maktoum, who was the longest reigning ruler of Dubai up until his death in 1958. Sheikh Al Maktoum, a nephew of the Emir of Dubai, currently runs and operates a portfolio of privately held group of companies. So, why does the UAE royal family have the vaccines in the first place? The involvement of the UAE royal family in this entire affair has been strange and shrouded in mystery. The Sputnik V vaccine was developed by the Gamaleya National Center of Epidemiology and Microbiology of the Ministry of Health of Russia. This was done through funding by the Russian Direct Investment Fund, or the RDIF. The RDIF is a sovereign wealth fund by the Russian Federation and has invested in the mass production of the vaccine by its portfolio companies in order to distribute it across the globe. Alright, let's break it down. Human Vaccine is a limited liability company that is under the umbrella of the joint stock company called Management Company of RDIF. Human Vaccine has authorized Arogulf Health Investment Abu Dhabi to sell and distribute the vaccine in several countries, which include Pakistan. And it doesn't end here. Arogulf has then appointed the private office of His Highness Sheikh Ahmed Dalmouk Al Maktoum of Dubai to develop, distribute and market the vaccine in Pakistan. The private office has then appointed AGP to register, market, distribute, and sell the vaccine in Pakistan. Naturally, this begs the question of why the Pakistani government made no attempt to procure directly from the Russians. In fact, even the recent announcement that the Pakistan army is to procure Sputnik V also states that they're to get their vaccines from the UAE. So not only is AGP going through an elaborate connection of middlemen, but this also raises the price and causes unnecessary strain on developing countries like Pakistan. These middlemen too are doing little else other than trying to make a quick buck out of people's desperation to get vaccinated. A source claims that the UAE royal family has invested in the development and production of Sputnik V and therefore has distribution rights for it. And the reason it's charging $45 from Pakistan is to make up on that investment. The source also alleges that the UAE royal family has made private equity investment in AGP. While this cannot be proven through shareholding lists, if it is true, it would mean that the private office of the sheikh would first make a profit selling the vaccine to AGP and then again when AGP sells the vaccine to people in Pakistan. The reason such an investment, if any, needs to be disclosed is because it leads to the thought of transfer pricing. Transfer pricing would be likely in that scenario considering AGP already knew it would only be allowed $40 above the landed cost. However, it is also important to note that Orogulf is an authorized vaccine distributor for various countries and is also a seller to the Pakistan army. Therefore, the notion of transfer pricing is also questionable. As for the trouble between AGP and the government, with the landed price of $45, AGP did not want to sell at $54 or 8,449 rupees that the government wanted it to sell it at. AGP said it would be unable to make any money. Regardless of whether it be profitable for them or not, it is important to note that the drug companies in Pakistan are allowed a 40% margin on life-saving drugs, and $54 would mean 20% margin for AGP. It is also important to note that while AGP says that the transportation cost of the vaccine is high, Prophet was able to obtain documents that showed that this was not really the case. The vaccine was shipped from Abu Dhabi, UAE through Emirates Airline. DHA Global Forwarding was the logistics service provider. As per an invoice, Prophet was able to receive the vaccine weighed 1,800 in kilos and the transportation cost was 17,820 dirhams, or approximately 750,000 rupees. The shipment was to be packed with dry ice and gel packs to maintain the required temperature of -18 degrees for transport. If we divide this by 25,000 doses, the transportation cost comes to Rs 30 per dose, which is very low. This example alone shows you how the price of a vaccine or any commodity does not rise drastically due to logistics.